Welcome to the relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. WBO President Gustavo Olivieri said, "Be advised, Claressa Shields has relinquished her WBO light heavyweight title per our rules. No WBO champion may hold titles in two weight divisions simultaneously. Therefore, Shields remains champion in the heavyweight division, the Baron heavyweight division. I don't think that any of this is in association with the doping case. Not even dope, really reefer.
It's not peds.
Trace amounts of marijuana, which is tantamount to catching a contact, because as stated, I don't actually think Claressa Shields smokes weed, but she may have been making out with someone that does.
Papoose.
There's that to consider, and that at least one other fighter tested positive for marijuana the same way that she did, which is neither here nor there, because her having to vacate one of her WBO titles was always going to happen, the byproduct of being a champion at multiple weights simultaneously. This is a rule that the WBO regularly enforces. I remember when Senicia Estrada won titles at light flyweight at a time where she already held titles at minimum weight. They gave her the same ultimatum.
And I believe they did the same thing to Yokastavalle when she picked up two alphabet titles at light flyweight.
The reason for it, the rhyme and the reason behind this rule is, while you're campaigning at one weight and holding titles in another, you're holding that other division up because you're not there to defend your title.
Until this point, Claressa Shields was registered as holding titles at heavyweight, light heavyweight, and a WBA title at middle.
The idea behind the rule is to keep the ranks moving along, to ensure that every mandatory challenger across every division with the WBO gets their crack at the apple, and they're not stifled by a champion who's campaigning at another weight, which does make sense.
Why should they be deprived of the opportunity that they worked for because you're off being a champion someplace else?
Curious that Claressa Shields chose to hang on to the heavyweight title, so is she gonna be staying up there? I figured after she beat Danielle Perkins, she'll likely move down because there's nobody else up there to fight.
Say it all the time, the talent and depth in women's boxing is the lower you go.
The lower you go, the deeper the divisions become, the more opponents you have. Where at heavyweight, there's just not a lot going on there, but I guess that Claressa was not ready to relinquish her newfound undisputed status in that division, though I can't imagine who else she's going to fight there. She already fought Vanessa Joanese. She already fought Danielle Perkins.
Who else is around?
I saw her old buddy Savannah Marshall make some mention of coming back to the squared circle and eyeing a rematch with Claressa. Now that the WBO light heavyweight title is vacant, perhaps Savannah can come back, fight for it, and then move up to fight Claressa for a second time at heavyweight for undisputed.
They were always each other's best option, before and now.
And 2 going on 3 years after their initial meeting, that hasn't changed. The fight between them likely pays out the most money for the both of them, so it's common sense to explore it. And maybe that's what this is. Maybe that's what they're gonna do.
I don't know who else there is for Claressa to fight at heavyweight.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, social media influencer and pugilist Jake Paul uploaded this video to his social media attacking a cardboard cutout of Gervonta Davis, seemingly hinting at a fight between them. And you know that he was actually there. He was in attendance for this past weekend's fight, and Gervonta Davis post-fight did say that his next opponent entered his locker room after the fight. Did Jake Paul enter his locker room after the fight? Is that who Gervonta Davis was talking about?
Whoever he was talking about on that predication, he initially said that the rematch with Roach would not happen until next year. He has since gone back on that. Now what he's saying is that it could happen as soon as May.
That he's pushing for it.
Simultaneously, reports came out earlier today that immediately after this weekend's fight, the people on Gervonta Davis' side reached out to the people on Lomachenko's side to explore doing a fight later on this year.
When?
This is all a lot to take in. Gervonta Davis is saying he's pushing for the rematch with Lamont. Jake Paul is hinting at a fight with Gervonta, and Gervonta's people supposedly reached out to Vasyl Lomachenko?
Let's try to make this make sense.
Let's do it.
Is it possible that Gervonta Davis was en route to a Jake Paul fight ahead of this weekend's fight because he figured he would beat Lamont Roach? He would beat Lamont Roach easy, and Lamont turned out to be a cherry pick gone wrong.
Things going wrong, that kerfuddle has resulted in a controversial outcome, controversial officiating that now sees the New York State Athletic Commission reviewing the situation, and Team Roach
petitioning the New York State Athletic Commission. The official word from them is that technical difficulties prevented real-time review of non-knockdown call in Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach fight. A timely ringside review of Gervonta Davis taking a knee in the 9th round of his fight with Lamont Roach, which referee Steve Willis did not call a knockdown, was not possible because the technical difficulties prevented the New York State Athletic Commission from seeing the footage back in time to make a call.
Technical difficulties? What do you live in, a cave? The footage of it is all over the place.
Boxing Scene contacted the New York State Athletic Commission for comment, and they sent back a statement through the Department of State Press Office explaining that due to the delay, they proceeded with Willis's call in the moment and are continuing to review the situation.
Yeah, can I get extra olives with that word sandwich?
At this time, the New York State Athletic Commission is reviewing the matter involving Saturday's matchup between Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis. During the round in question, following the commission's request for the replay video, there was a technical issue preventing the commission from receiving it within the allotted time for review. Therefore, the referee's in-ring decision was relied upon and the fight continued. The commission is dedicated to preserving the integrity of combative sports and is committed to working with all promotions and production teams on behalf of the athletes, officials, and fans to ensure technical issues do not occur in the future that prevent the delivery of ringside instant replay feeds to the commission's officials when needed.
That's unnecessarily long-winded. Are you going to do anything? Because whatever you didn't see in real time, I'm sure you can see now.
I'm sure you've seen that Gervonta Davis deliberately took a knee and Steve Willis actually started counting.
At which point, Gervonta Davis ignored him and ran to his corner.
He ignored your official and his officiating to go canoodle with the people in his corner because he had an eyelash in his eye or whatever it was.
Are you gonna let him get away with it?
The key part of that response appears to be that the technical issues compromise the commission's ability to accurately assess the replay video in real time, given the ongoing review and how clearly Davis's knee touched the canvas, as well as the ambiguity of the rules concerning knockdowns. The commission can best uphold their stated mission by ruling the incident a knockdown. Davis versus Roach ended in a majority draw. The two judges scored round 9, 10-9 for Gervonta Davis. Had it been scored 10-8 for Roach, as would be standard operating procedure had a knockdown been called, and all other rounds were scored the same way as on the night, Roach would have won. A unanimous decision by scores of 115-112, 114-113, and 114-113.
Do you think they'll do it?
I'm not optimistic, I'll be honest with you. That would be a dramatic turn of events if the New York State Athletic Commission decided to rule that a knockdown and reflect the outcome of the match as such, because that would mean Gervonta Davis will have officially lost. The WBA title would then go to Lamont Roach.
What about the sports books? What about the gamblers?
That's why I said I don't know. This was grossly negligent officiating from Steve Willis, but in the video you can see plain as day when Gervonta Davis takes the knee, Steve Willis starts to count. Gervonta ignores him and runs to his corner. So it's really a question of, is the New York State Athletic Commission prepared to make an example out of Gervonta Davis? Because these were flagrant violations, a flagrant disregard for their official and his officiating and all the rules, all the parameters a boxing match is comprised of under their auspices. Or are they going to let him get away with it and make fools of them all?
I don't know.
I literally don't know. But in the event that they actually decided to rule it a loss for Gervonta, oddly enough, I don't even think that's the worst case scenario for Gervonta Davis. I don't think that's the worst case scenario.
What is?
You see that he's changed his mind and he says that he wants to fight Lamont Roach as soon as possible at a time when all of this is happening in the background. In my previous video, I stated that they may be saying this to get Lamont Roach to ease off of the New York State Athletic Commission, try to come to a solution amongst themselves that doesn't involve petitioning them.
An immediate rematch.
Or at least the promise of one. But I don't know. Why is Jake Paul all of a sudden hinting at a Gervonta Davis fight? And who was Gervonta Davis talking about post-fight that his next opponent entered his locker room? Who was that?
So here's the worst case scenario. Gervonta doesn't fight Lamont in an immediate rematch. He proceeds with a Jake Paul fight on the predication that that's who he was talking about.
Let's just assume Lamont Roach is free to have a Shakur Stevenson fight that Turkey would pay him a lot of money to have. Shakur beats him
Comprehensively. No fuss, no muss, no controversy.
Suddenly, Gervonta's rematch with Lamont doesn't have the same value, doesn't have the same zest.
Sizzle.
I think that would be the worst case scenario. That doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's gonna happen.
But if it happened that way, that would be the worst case scenario because you still have unfinished business with a guy that Shakur will have beat easy, and in doing so, that puts more pressure on you to fight him.
To fight Shakur. If they watch Shakur easily outpoint Lamont Roach, there's gonna be that many more people demanding that you fight him.
It's the worst case scenario.
So I'm not convinced it happens that way because veteran boxing scribe Keith Idek did say Lamont Roach is contractually committed to an immediate rematch with Gervonta Davis through TGB Promotions. A summer stadium fight in Baltimore, D.C., or anywhere in the DMV should be next, right after the New York State Athletic Commission addresses what the hell happened early in the 9th round.
They say Gervonta Davis has a rematch clause, but is that clause still actionable in the event of a draw? Because we know that a draw canceled out Wilder and Fury's rematch clauses. The reason they didn't have an immediate rematch, they weren't obligated to have one, is because there was no outcome.
Nobody won and nobody lost. That's what allowed Fury to then jump into bed with Top Rank and have two separate fights in between his first fight with Wilder and his second fight with Wilder. So because this fight was scored a draw.
Is that the same situation to where, yeah, there was a rematch clause in the contract in the event that Lamont won, but the fight was scored a draw?
So nobody won. Does that not void the clause? So many moving parts, so many questions that need answers, and I do think those answers will come. But the worst case scenario to me is a scenario where Gervonta doesn't fight Lamont in an immediate rematch, Shakur fights Lamont instead, beats him,
and now the paying public, even more of it, is demanding that Gervonta fight him. Fight Shakur. I think that's the worst case scenario.
Yo, what up, gang?
What up?
What's the deal?
How the audio sound?
You sound sad.
Street.
Christine Sports Salon. You need to stop hating in the chat, man.
You be hating.
For real. Yo, if you don't take that draw and move on, bro.
Who, Lamont?
Lucky he even got the opportunity, gang.
Word up.
Now he want to turn around and do some snake shit. You out the same area. You want to turn around and do some snake shit.
Huh?
That's crazy. We put you on the map, bro.
Who's we?
Goofy ass. Bro, you don't go in there and touch him up a little bit. You go in there and you whoop that man's ass. You got to take it from the champ.
You do?
You don't make it a close fight, bro. That could have went either way.
It's not what people are saying.
And the draw was fair, in my opinion, bro. The knockdown shit, yo. I mean, come on. It wasn't like he took a hit and he got hurt. You feel me? You gonna force this little knee shit because technically on paper it's a knockdown. But you seen in the fight, he didn't even get punched or hurt.
You feel me?
That shit was burning his eyes, bro.
You feel me?
Got me Go ahead and change the outcome because he getting a rematch, bro. Tank was too buddy-buddy with bro.
Word them up.
Now this gonna bring out the killer.
Kill
Roach getting squished, man. I mean, look, he obviously had a lot going on behind the curtains. Calvin acting all scary out here. Tank don't even want to look at bro. That whole 2 head coach shit was a first, man. Maybe that should play a little part too, man. Alright, gang. That's all I got.
Kid sounds like he weighs about 115 pounds with braces talking about.
Got me fucked up, gang.
Who does? Lamont Roach? What did you expect him to do? Throw the fight? This is who Gervonta Davis appeals to. That caller sounds rather young.
Young enough, I don't think he actually buys pay-per-views.
What is Gervonta Davis's appeal is that he actually sounds like a toddler when he talks, and he behaves like a juvenile delinquent, even though he's actually 30 years old.
Dresses like a juvenile delinquent, even though he's 30 years old.
Draped in tattoos, what they love about him is that he is a degenerate like they are degenerates. That's the appeal. Though when your consumer base, a good chunk of them, are actually degenerates that aren't good for anything, and they don't even actually buy your fights.
No.
You can only get so far. To say that Gervonta Davis is not a draw would be a lie. Oh, he can draw. He can definitely draw. He sold out the Barclays with this cherry pick gone wrong. But he could be bigger.
He would be if he weren't such a pussy.
That's not right. He doesn't have a choice but to be the way that he is and navigate his career the way that he does, because if he tried to be more ambitious, he would have got exposed that much sooner by someone better than a Lamont Roach. They're now calling for a Vasyl Lomachenko fight. Vasyl Lomachenko, who is 37 years old and courting retirement, he doesn't have the same passion for the sport that he used to. A fight we might have to reevaluate, because if this is what you had to go through with a Lamont Roach...
And how was it that Lamont Roach made you look so bad?
It was in the pocket, in the exchange, when the fighters were trading. Lamont's movements were sharper, his punches shorter, and he was winning those exchanges.
He was switched on, and he was tight.
Part of it has to be that Gervonta Davis underestimated him, kinda like he's underestimating a 37-year-old Vasyl Lomachenko. That's the only reason he's now pursuing him, because he figures that he's old. He's low-hanging fruit. But you thought Lamont Roach was low-hanging fruit, and look what happened.
It's not even that Vasyl Lomachenko is a devastating puncher. It's that Lamont Roach isn't a devastating puncher, but he certainly got your attention. So who says Vasyl Lomachenko can't?
I mean, if Lamont Roach can do that to you and make you look like that, then who's to say Loma can't?
You know, because they're saying they want to fight him.
I wonder if he didn't watch this past Saturday's fight and think to himself, I can beat this butterball. Even at 37 years old, I still got enough that I can beat him.
You just gotta wonder.